In anime, particularly the shonen genre, having a strong cast of background characters is extremely important. There are great examples of anime that benefit from background characters who are not simply adding to the main character's quest, taking up space, or just being fan service. I'm talking about characters who have their own ambitions and goals. That we could easily say, hey, let's give this guy his own OVA. Or he could be the main character of his own series. Now I'm going to mention how this benefits the shows that I absolutely adore in this video. I'm also briefly going to touch upon some anime that I think do not have entertaining background characters. This doesn't mean I think they're bad stories, but I do hold the series that have a stronger overall cast over the ones that do not. When I think about my favorite stories, they all have something in common. They're an array of characters that are made to have their own goals that most of the time have nothing to do with the main protagonist's goals in the story. The first example I always use for this is Hunter x Hunter 2011. From the side characters you meet in the Hunter exams, to Zushi in Heaven's Arena, the members of the Phantom Troop, Hisoka, and of course, the different personalities we meet in the Chimera Ant arc, Hunter x Hunter is full of characters that have their own motivations. They are not simply there to be plot devices. Examples of us seeing how these side characters from these different arcs have their own goals and mindsets include Melody. She isn't just a bodyguard for cash. She has her own goals and a reasoning behind her abilities. Her main goal is not to destroy the Phantom Troop, it is to destroy the Sonata of Darkness. In Greed Island we meet Benoit. He's thought just to be a maniac that Gon Kaluuya must defeat to overcome another obstacle. But we see why he is a murderer when his backstory shows a traumatic upbringing. You end up not agreeing with his ways, but understanding why he is a killer. Then we have the Chimera Ants. In a typical show, the ants would just be there to fight for the king. We soon see that, like the humans, the ants have their own personalities and ambitions. You have the villains that seek power for their own and want to rule with their iron fists like Leol and Zazan. Then you have the characters who have their own development and become unlikely allies to the heroes of the story. My favorite example of this is Ilkago. When I first saw him, I thought he was going to be around for like an episode. But after a series of events, he developed not only from a villain to a hero, but from a soft, scared little octopus to a brave warrior that shows resolve. One of the best scenes in the entire arc comes from two minor characters. It was when Welfin was talking to Ilkago about Gyro and his previous life as a human. It's implied that the two may have known each other in their previous lives. The fact that Togashi takes the time to get deep with background characters like these guys shows how much he cares for his story and how he wishes it to be as authentic as possible. Hunter x Hunter is probably the best example of using background characters to create a better story. I also like the way Hajime no Ippo also keeps everyone in the main cast as a part of the story. Of course, Aoki and Kimura aren't going to be on Takamura's level. However, when it is their time to shine, the author doesn't just gloss over their fights. We have seen their backstories and have had entire arcs and OVAs dedicated to their big fights. Also, the people Ippo fights on his journey are never just two-dimensional characters. We get a backstory and reasoning behind why all the guys he fights are where they are in life and how they got there. There is a benefit to making characters that may not be the main protagonist fleshed out and given personality. It can go on to give a more prominent individual in the story character development. An example of this can be seen in the 7th part of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, Steel Ball Run. Johnny and Gyro encounter Ringo Rotogen, a stand user with the ability to turn back time 6 seconds by using his watch. Ringo is basically a hired gun by Funny Valentine, the main villain, and in most series, that's all he would end up being. But instead, what Ringo ends up doing is helping Gyro Zappelli realize that if he's going to continue this journey, he's going to have to evolve as a man and enter the true man's world. The only way he can do that is if he kills Ringo. Ringo tells Gyro that he's a conformist and doesn't have what it takes to kill a man. He believes that in a true man's world, the way to handle conflict is a duel to the death. He thinks this way after having a traumatic upbringing which involved him having to kill a man who murdered his family and tried to rape him. Gyro ends up defeating Ringo in battle, but Ringo creates a situation where either Gyro kills him or Gyro is going to die. Gyro deals the fatal blow to Ringo, and Ringo welcomes Gyro to the true man's world. Alright, I'm gonna get a little negative here, but bear with me. It is important to make your background characters unique because it keeps the audience guessing on what the characters' roles in the story will be. In the Forest arc in Demon Slayer, Tanjiro and the fellas meet these other Demon Slayers already at the scene of the crime. But you can just tell by the look of the Demon Slayers that they won't be there for long. They all look like the same guy, and they lack personality. That isn't the case in Ippo because every boxer he meets has a new look and a different style of fighting. Bleach has a bunch of background characters with great designs, but none of them have any character development like the characters of Hunter x Hunter. Dragon Ball Z completely threw away most of their cast when the dudes started turning into Super Saiyans. It gets to the point where nobody matters but the Saiyans.
Oh, wowzers! So, guys, are you just gonna stand there and stare at me all day?
That's pretty much the plan, Goku. I mean, how many characters in this still do you guys actually care about once we hit the Buu Saga? I myself could give a fuck about boop, 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 and sadly, even boop. Despite Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood being critically acclaimed, there's many soldiers in the show that we meet, but they do nothing with most of them. Before y'all attack me, just know I think Fullmetal Alchemist is one of the best shonens of all time, and there are some nice side character moments. But compared to the shows I've complimented thus far, Fullmetal Alchemist just doesn't do its role players justice. I don't know how I should care more about Little Octopus wearing a beanie than some badass military characters from Fullmetal Alchemist, but I do. This means that I'm always fascinated with who is on the screen when I'm watching Hunter x Hunter, a Jojo, an Ippo. When watching a FMA or a Demon Slayer or a Dragon Ball Z, I found myself waiting for one of the main characters to show up. Shows that don't give development or importance to their background characters can't compare to ones that do. This is because when side and background characters carry their own ideals and are well fleshed out, it feels real. In your life, you are the main character of your story, but the people around you are not just there to add something to your life, they have their own lives as well. It is the same as a story, but a lot of animes don't treat it like that. I feel most anime have that issue, and it is really hard to do what Togashi does with Hunter x Hunter. Of course, if you don't value background characters as much as you do other elements of a story, then this whole video is pretty irrelevant to you. But I feel that a well-rounded cast of characters can take a show from very good to great to even a masterpiece. So this was my first video, my first solo video, but me and the guys are looking forward to creating more content in the future. I would love to hear everyone's thoughts on what I had to say today. Did you enjoy the video or not? Were there any anime that I should have mentioned that I didn't? Anyways, don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a good day.